apologies, we'll get this underway. We're a little bit late, but here we are. Eshwar as the blue Celts player on the bottom side of the map. The top side of the map, we've got Smiga in the red on Egyptians. And we're here today on Bandit Hideout. So there's actually a little tower thing near these sets of units, and they're actually pretty beefy. Going to be a little bit hard to try and rush down. Got a bit of extra damage and health compared to regular units. But these guys, they got this little tower each, and capturing that, you get 3 villages. And then if your opponent captures it back off you, they get 3 villages. It doesn't happen every time it changes hands, only the first time round per tower. But it just puts a bit more of an incentive to actually play an aggressive or army-centric Age 2. Otherwise, the map, well, it's, I guess, a little bit like equal footing, really. Or a little bit like Oasis, in a way, because there's not a huge amount of rush distance between our players. These little encampments actually are kind of out of the way. Or the center of the map, not terribly large. Players can just rush straight through. Fairly nice distribution of wood around the map. Gold and hunts as well. I don't know if there actually is a lot of berries. I haven't actually seen a second berry scouted at all here, which is interesting. But anyway, our players... Well, Eshwar's going pretty greedy here. He's going straight for Age 2. Smiga actually doing the same here. So Egyptian Celts... they do have... Oh, there we do. Have berries on the map. So they do actually have reasonable spear openings. Probably not as good as, say, you know, Persian Spar Bar opening, or maybe not as good as Greek Spear Rush for Egypt, for instance. Celt Spear Rush, it used to have a bit more damage to make up for the fact that you've got less health. And yeah, Smiga's seeing one of the towers. Eshwar's pretty close to the other one now. I think the towers themselves actually give vision too, once you've got the initial villages, so it can be important for map control. This gives you a little bit of a tell of where your opponent's going to be. I'm not sure if the range on the line of sight on it is terribly... Oh no, 46 is pretty big. Actually, yeah, that's almost double a scout's radius, so you actually do get a bit of good vision around the resources around the little valley here. But yeah, getting back to the builds, our players, yeah, going greedy because both these civs actually have a nice greedy start to the game. Egyptians, with your slower train time, villages up until you get the upgrade from the Temple of Ra, can be handy to sort of work towards that quickly, because once you get to town center, you know, even though you're training 2 villages at a time like everyone else, you're actually sort of losing out on a second per villager until you've got the upgrade. And then it also improves drop-off, but at that point you're not really dropping off a lot, other than maybe at the second town center, because you're generally still going to storehouse this distance. Celts rushing for Age 2, well, they save 100 resources overall once they get to the point that they're at 55 population, because at the moment Eshwar going to 35 already, whereas Smiga, you know, sitting at 25 population, because the age up, you know, it's got that requirement to build houses. But once Eshwar's at 55 pop, he's effectively saved all the wood he would have had to spend on the age up, but instead had to spend more food. So overall he comes ahead 100 resources then. So both these civs, they've got reasons for wanting to play kind of this greedily. Smiga, I like this. It's a fairly defensive town center. Ideally for him, this hunt would be back around where the edge of the town center is, and he could have it here, so it's mostly shadowed by the other one, and they can really cover for one another. But this way it also actually helps him cover this gold mine. I mean, he probably could have put it there to do so, but then he'd have to put a storehouse here. But overall, that's pretty good town center position. Eshwar's very similar spot. In fact, it just about is on the radius of the town center there, maybe just outside of it. So I think our players quite a defensive forward town center, if you will. Eshwar pickaxe and handsaw very early. Smiga handsaw on the way. Both our players having taken hunting dogs in the early game because they we're just going to double down on 2 storehouse opening regardless of what was going to happen. Sometimes you can actually delay getting hunting dogs if you're worried you are going to get spear rushed, so you can afford getting Picker's Gloves straight away instead. Because Picker's Gloves actually gives you the greatest amount of gathering rate percentage of any eco upgrade. And it's the cheapest eco upgrade, so taking that early on is invaluable if you are forced onto the berries. If you're not, don't get the bloody upgrade, please. So I like this. Eshwar's mostly walling in. He might put one more house here or just leave that as it is, but either way, even once he clears this berries out, it's going to be difficult to try and get in here. He just might need to put another house here. Keep chopping this way. There might actually be an opening there. Yeah, there probably would be, I think, if he cuts these trees down. But he's going for lots of houses this early. In fact, all the way up to 8. I think he only needs 6. So it's a lot of houses considering he hasn't actually invested. Yeah, there we go. He's going for age 3 early. I was going to say it's an awful lot of houses to not have any military out in the field. In fact, is he going straight for age 4? Because he's going all the way up to 10 houses here. Smiga, in the meanwhile, is just going to go fairly timing push oriented age 2 here. Triple barracks. You could probably do this, or 2 barracks, 1 stables. I think his next production facility after this will probably be a stables. Just because if he's putting pressure on with these guys, Eshwar's either going to go for his own longsword champ, or just another anti-infantry counter that'll generally be countered by the camels. So Smiga either has to, basically start saving for age 3 now, even though he's trying to cram out units as quickly as possible, or he needs to get a stables in the mix, just to have something to complement the axemen really, really well. Once Eshwar has his age 3 composition going, because Eshwar is going straight for an archer's opening. He's going to go straight for bowmen. So those guys are going to do well against the axes. Obviously, Egypt's equivalent is chariots instead, a bit more of a generalist archer unit rather than a specialist anti-infantry like bowman. Smiga probably needs to try and get on top of something here. These guys are just camping a spot though. Maybe he's intending to catch Eshwar out here, thinking that Eshwar's going to go for a greedier 3rd town centre and set up for an ideal market late game. But Eshwar, I do know he likes to really play around a solid early and mid game, even though his late game is extremely solid. His early and mid game, I think, is what sets him apart from just about everyone else at the moment. So Eshwar, he's really playing this quite greedy. He is going to save for age 4. He's using a handful of bowmen to help him defend. In fact, he's not even gone for the 3rd town centre just yet. So Smiga clearing the towers. He's going to get his reward here. He's got the priestess there, so that minimises his damage he's actually going to take. Loses a, 1 or 2 spearmen. Gets an extra 3 villages for his trouble. And it does grant him a little bit of vision. Not a huge amount of resources it's helping show here. In fact, it's all mainly ones on his side of the map. He's just doing a bit of a poke, but unfortunately going triple barracks. He's gone for 4 barracks. He hasn't gone for any stables yet, so he is going to mass up the slingers. So this is a good option, because if he's staying in age 2, the camels don't explicitly counter archers. Don't explicitly counter archer units. But because they've got a large health pool, and because the bowmen don't have any bonus damage against them, it does mean they're a much better tank than axemen are. It's once you get the champion upgrade that they really become a ranged unit killer. Oop. Smiga's left a spear there. He's going to have to be quick about this, because Eshwar right now has invested a fuckload into aging up. Like, even though Celts do save resources there, you're really only saving 600 resources over the other civs, and you're also having to commit to a hell of a lot of houses, so that does help close that gap for the other civs. So Eshwar right now is really trailing in score. There's no effective army here. Smiga could actually take that out. Smiga just circling his opponent. Gonna go for 160 pop. Start getting armory. And start aging up to age 3. This is a nice controlling position he's in. Don't know if he actually sees this yet. Oh, he has seen it. So Eshwar's actually only gathering from a couple of villages there. Eshwar only sitting on 2 town center at the moment. He hasn't gone up to his 3rd TC. Hasn't yet finished any of these towers. So right now I think if Smiga pushes, it's actually quite a tough sell for Eshwar, because he's needing to get a little bit more production. He hasn't really got anything in the way of armory. He's really only just finished conditioning there, so... But ooh, champions. Okay, so I can see why he was going for this, but he is a little bit food starved. So Smiga can push with everything here before a critical mass of champions hit the field. I think Smiga can actually take this off Eshwar. But all this is that Eshwar's doing here, with all this external gathering, even though he's losing these storehouses, he's getting the vills out on time, and getting a little bit of food. Hasn't really lost any eco out of this. And it's helped delay Smiga's push slightly here. There's only a couple of champions that had little orange swords. So there's a massive push by Smiga. Ah, Ishtar's sword, that'd be why. But Smiga's going to possibly have to try and target fire down all the bowmen, or just keep everything away from the champions and even use the slingers to help bring them down ASAP. Why is Smiga not attacking with everything? What are you doing? He's evaluating what he's going to do here. He's got to spend on army. He's probably macroing at the same time there. I think if Smiga had attacked with everything, it could have been a different story there. But right now, Eshwar, double champion production. At this stage, it's going to make it quite tough. There we go, he's also getting siege, so that's not a bad idea. So I'm wondering why he decided to leave one army attacking and pull back with the other completely. But Smiga, 73 vills to Eshwar's 62, so Smiga has an eco lead here. Because of both capturing these, and accounts for 6 of that, and Eshwar's been working on aging up over everything else at this point. But now he's got his double Sacred Grove production. If he just keeps gathering food from these deer, he should be okay. It's a bit like being able to produce your own hunts, really. I mean, they're only herdables, but the gather time on them is still very, very good. And Celts, they've actually got upgrades to gather even faster than the other civs out of herdables, so it effectively competes with hunts and fully upgraded farms. Right now, Smiga trying to work towards some H3 tech here. More range on those slingers. But he needs to transition to a lot of chariots here. Eshwar defending well, and right around Rusty, he's got plenty of bonus damage here. So even though he's still down in population, if he can clean up this siege tower, he should be well to defend this. And he's going to sneak a 3rd town center here, Smiga, heading away from it, so he's not going to see it happen. So this is handy for Eshwar, I think. He just needs to make sure he can clear out that siege tower. Because these, as good as these slingers are, there's no real focus fire onto the bowmen by them. And they can actually spend just about all day focusing down these champions. Eshwar probably doesn't want to lose a great deal of them, though. They are pretty expensive for an infantry unit. Smiga, some good map control, though. He's trying to scout out things. He did miss this going up. But I think he needs to... Yeah, he's going to transition to chariots here. Struggling a little bit for wood. Plenty of food in the bank. Eshwar... Not a huge amount of every resource in the bank. And this is interesting, neither player is really playing around armory at the moment. Eshwar getting his first armory. Smiga has his first, just going to start his barbed arrows as we speak, and adding a second armory. Siege towers incoming here for Smiga. So 180 pop and 76 vils to 78 vils and 160 pop. I do like this forward building from Smiga. It means he doesn't have to worry about reinforced time, so as long as he's careful here, I don't think he should get too close to the vils there, because they'll help pick off the siege tower quickly. He can pick off some of these towers and houses, that'll get him a bit of value. So Eshwar trying to make sure he's gonna go into late game with enough of his base actually standing here. But Smiga, I think he needs to be willing to let a couple of slingers die here and change them out for chariots. Eshwar now able to produce carpentums, so chariot archer is going to be able to prevent the food gathering going on here. So Eshwar, pretty interesting style of play here, rushing straight to age 4. It's like something you'd see from the Mister when he's shitting around. But Smiga, ooh, champion coming in, that'll be a handy upgrade. Smiga, this is a huge army, but at the same time it is mostly slinger based, so he does need to try and target fire these guys onto the bowmen a little better. While the carpenters, they're going to have great splash once they get their champion upgrade. Eshwar not able to afford it at the moment, in fact he's not got a huge amount in the bank. And Smiga still really ahead in terms of the army size. One chariot still proving to be a real nuisance. Smiga, amazing just vision and layout of the hunts he's on. Got pretty much full map control here. No real pressure being applied to the double town center set up there of Eshwar down at the bottom side of the map. So Eshwar now finally able to start getting to 200 population here. But this other town center under a lot of threat. In fact, Smiga is just going for it here. He's just got the double fortress set up, the double workshop set up, a third fortress on the way. He wants to make sure he can clear out Eshwar's primary base. Eshwar struggling a little bit for food. He's not really able to gather any more over here. Now there's some axemen coming in, so they're going to tear down the building a lot faster than the chariots will, just because of building's innate ranged armor. Ooh, and Eshwar's even going to send the siege tower. So this is going to mean those 17 gold miners going to be pushed off. That Eshwar's going to be gold starved as well as food starved. As it is, at least he can afford to make a good mix of ranged and melee, but this could change things. Ooh, that's nice for Eshwar. He's going to be able to clean this up, but Smiga in the meanwhile has figured out there is this hidden base over here. And Eshwar's going to want to be careful that he doesn't leave this central base of his completely undefended, because then Eshwar can just counterattack with, you know, he'll have triple War Elephant and, you know, 5 stables unit production there, as well as being able to continually pressure that gold mine. So Smiga trying to delay upgrades here. Eshwar getting shield truss, so if this gets interrupted, this could be pretty big. Smiga is going to be able to take that out. Carps now with champion, so they are going to have that splash damage and that extra damage. Fighting all bunched up like that, as much as it's good for them to avoid damage from the single target units, there is Ellie's in the mix. So Ellie's and Axeman versus champions at the moment. Champion, what a name. Eshwar is going to try and hit over here again. So Smiga's going to try and hit over here again. Eshwar finished the gold, but he's still trying to get food from over there. And Smiga in a really nice spot here. GG, Eshwar tapping out there. So maybe, just maybe, gods can bleed. But, I mean, that was a really greedy opening there from Eshwar, and I think The fact that he played around taking straight to age 4 really meant that he was going to be playing on the back foot like that, and was going to be relying on more or less Smiga stuffing up and playing into him. Oops, I did the scores wrong then, but then it's alright on here. Alright guys, so next on the list, I think we're going to have probably Eshwar versus me. What do we have next?